The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Glory to you, Lord. Jesus returned to Galilee in the power of the Spirit, and news of him spread throughout the whole region. He taught in their synagogues and was praised by all. He came to Nazareth, where he had grown up, and went according to his custom into the synagogue on the Sabbath day. He stood up to read and was handed a scroll of the prophet Isaiah. He unrolled the scroll and found the passage where it was written, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he has anointed me to bring glad tidings to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim liberty to captives, to let the oppressed go free, and to proclaim a year acceptable to the Lord." Rolling up the scroll, he handed it back to the attendant and sat down. And the eyes of all in the synagogue looked intently at him. He said to them, "Today, this scripture passage is fulfilled in your hearing." And all spoke highly of him and were amazed at the gracious words that came from his mouth. The Gospel of the Lord. I have come to set captives free. Come as a liberator. Today, this scripture passage is fulfilled in your hearing. Jesus is that great liberating force. And yet, as we look around in the world today and we see, in particular, the political unrest, but social unrest in general, we wonder, what kind of liberation does Jesus bring? What does he mean, "Today this is fulfilled in your hearing"? After all, where was Jesus' army? What was his political campaign? What was his economic ideology that was going to restructure things and bring forth equity in the world? First, let's ask, how does the world offer liberty? When we think of being free, what does that look like? I was reflecting on this question, and a few different examples come to mind. First, and this is the one that I think most people set their heart on, is wealth. If I only had enough money, then I could do what I want. I'd be free of all this constant burdens and worries in my life. I'd be able to go to the places I've always wanted to go, do the things I've always wanted to do. I'd be able to truly care for my friends and my family if I only had enough money. Well, then the question is, how much? Would $1 million do it? Maybe 100 million? How about $1 billion? Would you be free then? And even if you were, the moment you had it, you'd likely be afraid of losing it. Or you'd be gaining it on the backs of someone else. After all, there's only so much money in the world. Not everyone can have $1 billion. So your freedom would come at the expense of others, if you could even call it freedom. So Christ surely doesn't come to bring us this kind of freedom. What is the other freedom that the world seeks to offer us? Maybe through technology. There are so many difficult things in our life, so many burdens that we have. If we could only create new technologies that would free us and give us more time. If we had technology that could unite us and connect us with people all throughout the world, surely we would grow together. We live in the most connected time And yet it seems we are only fracturing more and more, are we not? How about freedom through health? A magic pill that can cure our diseases. Never have to worry about getting sick. But even still, no magic pill can stop us from a freak accident falling down from a ladder. No magic pill can stave off death. It comes for us all. So we can never really get that freedom either. What about politics? What about a political ideology, charismatic leader, somebody who can give us the things that we want? Can we even trust ourselves, much less someone else? And even if we could, do they have enough support to ever really bring what they promise? And even if they did, it would only be for a short while. After all, it is our hearts that are corrupted. More so even than any structures that can be changed. So what kind of freedom does Jesus offer? He offers us a freedom that seems like madness to the world. He offers us that freedom. Freedom of the cross. A freedom to be able to love and live in life in the most dire of situations. He offers us a freedom of spirit. Because what Jesus came to reveal and what the world needs to hear but does not want to hear is that the chains that truly bind our humanity, the things that really hold us down and hold us in the grips of darkness, do not come from outside the world. They come within our own heart. Jesus comes to set our hearts free, to set us free from sin, to set us free from pride, greed, and envy. The freedom of the cross, the freedom of Christ, comes to say that you do not set your heart on things of this world. You could be a wealthy man and miserable, or you could be a poor man and in love. Do not set your heart on the things that are passing away. Set your heart on things that are eternal. And things that the more you have to give away. That is an economy of God. Freedom of being connected. We can invent all the technology we want to be able to connect us with people with the click of a button all the way around the world. But yet we live in a time right now where people feel more divided than ever. The world may say that our faith and our placing our trust in the cross is madness. It may say that we are brainwashed. But look around the world. Who's brainwashed? We live in a world where people will kill each other over a new pair of shoes. Where the wealthiest nations in the world will seek to help their bottom line at the expense of countries that don't even have bread to eat. Who's mad? We live in a world where technology is supposed to connect us, and yet we seem to be drifting further and further away, and it has infected even our very own families, our homes. We live in a world that says that peace will come through political maneuvering or through military power. In what world does it make sense that drone strikes from halfway around the world are a sign of peace? Christ comes to set us free, to give us liberty, to be able to love in those moments when we have much, and to be able to love still even more when we have little. For we have within our hearts that eternal treasure that can never be exhausted. We have a Spirit of God that makes us sisters and brothers with people of every race, of every tongue, all throughout this nation. They are indeed our sisters and brothers, and we are connected at this table. We have a one who says, indeed, you cannot place your trust in other politicians and those who promise you everything. But we have a Prince of Peace who has proven himself for all eternity that we can place our trust in him. For he gave his very life for us. He didn't have personal gain in mind. He had our best interest at heart. This is freedom, sisters and brothers, to be able to go out into the world, and no matter what it throws at us, we know that we hold the banner of victory, that we have that eternal light dwelling within us, and that whenever the world says that we are mad, that we are crazy, that we should want more wealth, that we should want more technology, that we should put our faith in science and politics, we say, no, I put my faith in the cross, because it has what I want, what I desire, to live in love no matter what. And to know that I am loved, no matter what. After all, isn't that what we are made for? Isn't that what we truly strive for? As we crawl and scrape throughout this life, seeking more, seeking to be happy, seeking to be at peace. Is it not that our hearts yearn to be loved, to be comforted, to know that we have worth, to know that we have value, and to know that we have a mission and a purpose? Christ gives us all these things, sisters and brothers, and that is something the world could never take away from us. And so he is the true liberator, the one that has come to set captives free, to break the chains of sin and the things that divide us from one another. And we are invited each and every day to come before this altar and to receive that greatest gift, to set our hearts free, to learn to live in that freedom. Sisters and brothers, let us be ambassadors of this great Prince of Peace. Let us go throughout our lives in the way that we live and the way that we care for one another, the way we love our brother. And let the world know the true liberation of God's great love on the cross.